A 17-year-old public school junior from San Antonio just ran 9.92 in the 100 meters. Wind legal. The fastest 100 any United States high school student has ever run. A time that would have placed fourth at the 2024 United States Olympic Trials, ahead of the 2019 world champion. Not at a track academy. Not at a private prep school. A junior from Northside ISD at a meet that does not air on ESPN. When Noah Lyles, the reigning Olympic 100-meter champion and six-time world champion, saw what this same kid did to one of his own high school records back in March, he said one thing on X that tells you everything about where the U.S. sprint program is heading. We will get to that. But first, what this number actually is. Now, let me put it in full context. At the 2024 United States Olympic Trials in Eugene, Noah Lyles won gold in 9.83. Christian Coleman, the 2019 world champion, ran 9.93 for fourth and missed his first Olympic team in 7 years. Not third in his age group, not third in U.S. high school history. Second fastest under-20 sprinter in the history of the planet, behind only Letsile Tebogo's 9.91 from Botswana. His name is Tate Taylor. San Antonio, Texas. Northside Independent School District. John M. Harlan High School. Not Montverde Academy in Florida, not IMG, not a boarding school sprint factory. A public 6A high school on the west side of San Antonio. The kid grew up moving between San Antonio and the Dallas-Fort Worth area. His own words. Being a San Antonio and Dallas-Fort Worth kid, you really adjust and learn how to be you. A Texas public school kid in the state's largest classification, told to figure it out alongside 2,000 other students. And here is the thing. He was not a track kid. He was a basketball kid. His own words, I love basketball. I love to play basketball. But I put the Hooper life behind me and decided to stick to the big red oval for life. 8th grade transitioning into freshman year, that summer, he ran summer track for the first time. Not a youth circuit phenom, a Hooper who tried summer track on a whim, and then something strange started happening. By his sophomore year, spring of 2024, he ran 10.34 in the 100 and 20.78 in the 200. Good times, not Olympic trajectory times. MileSplit profiled him that April as a fast rising star. The lead of the profile was the 20.78 in the 200, not the 100. A year before this race, the scouting services had him pegged as a 200-meter prospect with upside. Here is the brutal reality of how this works. He was not ignored. He was not anointed either. He was the third guy on the list. Christian Miller, the Creekside High School product from Jacksonville, Florida, had run 9.93 in April of 2024 and broken the U.S. high school 100-meter record. That was the kid the system pegged as the next sub-10 American teenager. Then Braden Williams, the Duncanville senior, the Georgia signee, ran a wind-aided 9.82 at the Texas 6A Region 2 meet in Waco on April 19th, 2025. 2 weeks before the state final, the fastest wind-aided high school time in U.S. history. Williams was the projected next Texas sub-10 kid. The Florida kid had the record. The Duncanville kid had the headline. The recruiting services had their 2 names and their 2 storylines. Tate Taylor was the third name with a Texas Tech commitment and no national narrative attached to it. The third name nobody was building a story around. The message from the recruiting services and the national high school sprint media was clear. You are not the one. So here is the honest question. Was Tate Taylor an elite talent the scouting services had misread, or just the third best Texas sprinter that spring? Was his shot at sub-10 a matter of catching the right tailwind on the right day? Did Williams's wind-aided 9.82 pull both kids into a place neither of them had been? 2 Texas juniors, same week, same straightaway. Only one of them was walking off the state final with a wind legal number that ended the conversation. Here is what they did not understand. In June of 2025, weeks after the state final, Tate Taylor showed up at the Nike Outdoor Nationals against the best high school sprinters in the country. The national field. He won the 100 in 10.10. He did not just hold his own, he won. The state final was not a one-off Austin tailwind. The kid belongs on that track. Now, the cost. He is 17 years old. He did not work an airport job to fund a move to Florida. The cost looks different. It started in 8th grade. An 8th grader putting the Hooper life behind him to lock in on the red oval. Most kids that age never pick anything. He picked then. It is 2 years of head-to-head training with Braden Williams, his stated rival. Taylor's own words, "Me and Braden have a rivalry going back from like 2 years ago where we always go head-to-head in that straightaway, man. 2 years of that." And then, after the state final, he made the decision the average high schooler does not make. He opted out of his senior UIL season. He skipped the state title defense. He skipped the Harlan home meet. He skipped the senior victory laps a defending state champion is supposed to take. He skipped every senior year moment a high school sprint star is supposed to get. He chose the national circuit over his own school. That is the trade he made. Now, before I tell you what happened on May 3rd in Austin, think about Noah Lyles for a second. Because Lyles has spent the last 3 years saying out loud, on X and in his post-race press conferences, that the only way the U.S. sprint program stays on top is when the next generation comes for the records. The current generation set. He has said it after Olympic finals. He has said it after World Championship gold. Records are made to be broken. That is the documented Lyles thesis on the sport. And here is the part you need to understand. 2 months before the state final, in March of 2025, at the Nike Indoor Nationals, Tate Taylor ran 20.46 in the 200. The national high school indoor record had been Issam Asinga's 20.48, set in the same building 2 years earlier. Taylor took it by 2/100ths. And in the process, he broke another mark. On that same track, Noah Lyles' Armory meet record, the 20.63 Lyles set in 2016 as an 18-year-old. And Lyles did not sulk. He went on X. You know what Noah Lyles would say in that moment. Records are made to be broken. That is what he has been saying for 3 years. And that is exactly what he posted. Drop it in the comments right now. Before I tell you what Tate Taylor did at the Texas State Final on May 3rd, did you think a U.S. high school kid would break 9.93 in the next 13 months? Did you think Christian Miller's record was going to hold for a decade? Type "saw it" in the comments if you called this. I need to know if anyone outside Northside ISD saw this coming. May 3rd, 2025, Mike A. Myers Stadium in Austin, Texas. The 2025 University Interscholastic League Class 6A State Championships, the 100-meter dash final. Tate Taylor blasts out of the blocks. He runs 9.92, the fastest 100 meters any United States high school student has ever run in a wind-legal race. The youngest man, period, to break 10 seconds wind legal. He skipped the 9.93, skipped the 9.95, went from 10.08 3 weeks earlier in cold weather straight through the 10-second barrier on a May afternoon in Austin. At those 2024 United States Olympic trials in Eugene, Noah Lyles ran 9.83 for gold, Kenny Bednarek 9.87 for silver, Fred Curley 9.88 for bronze, and Christian Coleman 9.93 for fourth. That is the time Tate Taylor's 9.92 just edged as a junior. If Tate Taylor had been in that Olympic trials final, he finishes fourth, ahead of Christian Coleman, as a high school kid. A 17-year-old from a public high school in San Antonio. A kid whose personal record a year earlier was 10.34, a program with no Olympic alumni, a meet that does not get broadcast on ESPN, a wind reading of plus 1.1, and the man who won that 2024 Olympic trials final in 9.83, Noah Lyles. The same Noah Lyles, who saw what this kid did in March and went on X. The same Noah Lyles who has been saying for 3 years that the next generation is coming for the records. Tate Taylor just delivered that message in person. And there is one more thing about this run that the U.S. sprint world has been dancing around but needs to be said directly. In every wind-legal 100-meter race ever run by a United States high school student in the electronic timing era of the sport, since fully automatic timing became universal in the mid-1970s, no one has ever crossed the line in less than 9.92 seconds. Nobody. Not Trayvon Bromell, who ran 9.97 as a Baylor freshman. Not Christian Miller, who ran 9.93 in April of 2024. Not Braden Williams, even with the wind at his back. Tate Taylor did it as a junior in Austin, Texas in May of 2025. That is not a small fact. That is a historic fact. His athletic director, Eddie Salas, said one thing after the record. I fully expect to be in the stands in Los Angeles watching him run in the 2028 Summer Olympics. That is the institutional voice of Harlan High School calling its shot on a 17-year-old. 9.92. Say it one more time. The The San Antonio Public School junior who could not break 10.30 15 months earlier just ran the fastest legal 100 in American high school history. After the race, when reporters asked Tate Taylor what he expected to see on the scoreboard, he gave one answer. He felt like he had run a 10 flat. He had no idea it was a 9, not a 9.99, not a 9.95, a 9.92. The youngest human in the history of the sport to break 10 seconds wind legal had no idea what he had just done. Maybe 10 flat. Think about what that actually means for him. 2 years of head-to-head training with Braden Williams, an 8th grade decision to leave the gym for the Oval, a senior season skipped, a state title not defended, all of that for one number, 9.92, and his own mother, on the morning he won National Player of the Year, rushed into his bedroom at 6 in the morning to tell him his coach wanted to see him at school. That is who just ran the fastest legal 100 in American high school history. And the scouts who did not have him pegged as the next sub-10 kid this time last year, the recruiting services that had his sophomore times in the database but kept the spotlight on the academy kids and the wind-aided headlines. They are watching that number right now, reading it on their phones, seeing it on the leaderboard. The Los Angeles Olympic Games are 2 years away. Tate Taylor will be 20 years old, a sophomore at Texas Tech University, running on the same track where Noah Lyles defends his Olympic 100-meter crown. 2 years. Prime years. A home games in a sprint country waiting for the next generation to take it. So here is what I need you to tell me in the comments. Does Tate Taylor make the U.S. Olympic team in Los Angeles in 2028? Does the San Antonio public school kid who ran 9.92 as a junior end up on the podium against the best sprinters on Earth? Does he prove once and for all that the next American sprint generation is not being grown in private academies? It is coming from public school juniors, the recruiting services left off the top of their boards. Drop your prediction below. Every single comment gets read.